could make a difference by speaking up or protecting kids, and it's going to be hard to deal with that and continue to deal with it. I'm most worried about what's coming next if our society doesn't wake up and realize it is not a sin to have empathy. And that's unfortunately where some of our world is going, and I don't want our local world to go there.
Welcome to the Give and Grow DSM podcast, the show where we share compelling stories of the nonprofits shaping Iowa's future. Host Siobhan Spain dedicates 3 episodes to each organization, offering listeners unique perspectives through interviews with the nonprofit's leader, an active donor, and a beneficiary of its programming. Give and Grow DSM is a philanthropic initiative founded by Andy and Sarah Suzannin and the RIA Group, dedicated to serving the organizations and individuals in our community who need it most. Learn more and listen in at giveandgrowdsm.com. Welcome to the Give and Grow DSM podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan Spain. This conversation kicks off a 3-episode series on the nonprofit Children and Family Urban Movement, or CFUM. Its mission is to create a community that supports the potential of children, youth, and families through educational success, healthy living, and community engagement. CFUM has been serving families in our community for over 15 years, providing essential services that build stronger families and a more connected community. My guest today has spent decades walking alongside people in some of the hardest circumstances imaginable. I'm joined by Andy Bales, now the director of CFUM in Des Moines, but for 20 years he led the Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row in Los Angeles, one of the epicenters of the homeless crisis in America. He has recently come back to Iowa, where his work in poverty outreach first began, bringing with him a lifetime of experience and deep belief in what it means to serve people with dignity. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Siobhan.
It's so nice to have you here. I had the pleasure of visiting your program at Moulton Elementary the other day, and what I saw was really impressive. I took away just the energy and the positivity of staff and the kids you serve. Nice. It was so evident. So I'm excited to learn more about your work at CFUM today.
Yeah, I was concerned it was so energetic that it might have been chaotic, but it was a gathering before you split people up and go to class. So it was pretty vibrant.
It was. It was really fun to be around those kids being so excited to be there, and your staff. So you employ some young people.
Yeah, lots of young people. College students, part-time jobs, and just finding their way. I think we have a graduate coming back to us who's going to graduate this May and then come back to us as a leader. So fun time of life for the youngsters who work for us. And I'd say that's the best benefit since I arrived. When I came, we got judged by a group, came evaluate us, and they said the kids aren't welcomed enough, and there's not enough joy. And so we set out to give them high five as they arrive, and so I'm so thankful you say that, because that was a big need to change.
Yeah.
Little kids who are struggling need to feel loved when they arrive. And
absolutely. That was clear. And I was also so happy to see the presence of your staff. They were really happy to be there. And it's just, it's a gift.
Oh, yeah. They love those kids. Our frontline staff, they have really wrapped their arms around them and somewhat, adopted them. They love them like a parent would, or a big sis, big brother would.
That's great. Love it. So it was interesting to discover that our time in Los Angeles overlapped a little bit. I worked at the LA Times for 5 years, which is very near Skid Row, and I became familiar with that presence and challenge. So you've been called a legend in Los Angeles for your work there. You are now leading a deeply community-rooted organization, which is CFUM. What does that shift feel like for you?
It was a tough shift on me to go from. Well, the thing is, I used to be a legend in Des Moines, right? I was here, made sure people were not on the streets.
Right.
Did everything I could to.
And how did that play
homelessness.
out? Were you with an organization or just working
I was
independently?
with the Door of Faith Mission.
Okay.
I would go out every Saturday night to make sure people who wanted to come in could come in.
Mm-hmm.
I fed about 1,000 meals. We fed about 1,000 meals with a different group every Saturday night. We welcomed everybody who wanted to come back to the mission with us, Then, with a group of churches, we launched Good Samaritan Urban Ministries. It was a 6-church coalition, which became like a 120-church coalition, created 156 units of housing, transitional housing, permanent rental housing, permanent rental homes, home ownership, after-school programs, a lot like CFUM.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of the decade that we had Good Samaritan, CFUM was launched, so I was very familiar with CFUM and the work and the kids, because we both had so many kids at Moulton, and summer camps, and made a real big difference. But kind of got to a point of being comfortable at Good Samaritan, and I'm never comfortable when I'm comfortable, so I got an invite to Los Angeles to a big mega church to reach out to the impoverished folks around the church. And I went there, but I guess I did too good of a job because a city councilman and a neighbor and city planning guy all came and threatened the church about the work I was doing with people who were devastated by homelessness and the immigrants. So day laborers had been there for 30, 40 years, and they'd been waiting for coffee, and they'd been waiting for a job on a certain street for over 30 years. But I started taking sweet bread, Mexican sweet bread and coffee out to the folks. And the city started threatening me that I was breaking the law. And it went all the way, to the city attorney.
Oh, my gosh.
And they were threatening me all the time. But they lost, and I won the right to go ahead and take bread and coffee out to folks. But it caused quite a stir. I ran for city council to try to get the city council to back down. And my church board told me to knock it off and drop out of the city council. And I said, I came to teach you how to reach out to the impoverished, and I'm still teaching. And they took that as very arrogant.
Okay.
So put me on a paid leave, and it became permanent. And I ended up getting offered a job at the largest rescue mission in the country, Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row. And it felt like I had blown it, right, in my efforts. And I didn't get to run for city council, but it actually became the best thing that really ever happened to me. I used to say I worked my whole life to get to Skid Row, and I finally made it. And I became the president and CEO of the largest rescue mission in the country, and hopefully made some difference in LA and in homelessness around the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then my wife said, when you turn 65, I'm returning to Des Moines, and I'm going to hang around my redheaded grandgirls, and you can join me if you like. And I gulped, and I said, okay. And I gave my board a year's warning that I was leaving, and had to walk away from Union Rescue Mission. And in the meantime, I found the role. They found me, and I found them. at Children and Family Urban Movement, and it was a way for me to keep doing some good while obeying my wife to return to Des Moines.
Well, we're glad it worked out.
Thanks. Yeah, I am too. I was one day feeling sorry for myself in the parking lot or the playground, and a little girl, Amal, came up and gave me a big hug, and I thought, I'm in a better spot than I ever could be. I get to be grandpa to 130 kids from all over the world and adopt them as my own, and that's even grown stronger. Amal's mom is going through dialysis right now and needs a kidney transplant. And I've been there. I had a kidney transplant. My wife gave me a kidney 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I really feel for her. I keep kidding my wife that I'm going to give her my kidney, which was my wife's kidney, to help her,
Pass it
because
on.
that's how I feel
Right.
about
I
helping
bet.
Amal keep her mom. But they both, Mom and Amal, give me a hug every night. And Amal always says to me, she says, "Have you checked your blood pressure lately?" Because she knows blood pressure hurt her
Yes.
mom, and she doesn't want the same thing to happen to me.
Of course.
So her mom just laughs because every night, "Have you checked your blood pressure lately?" And I got to share this with you.
Okay.
I'll give you another sample of my little loved ones, my adopted grandkids. So it's the best part of the work that I do at CFM. It's really the most powerful part of the work I do. So I didn't even figure this out until I read it, and I'm going to practice this. But
Okay.
I love you. You love me. We are a family, with a great big hug and around your neck. I love you and need you, and you love me. I guess that's the Barney song, but I'm going to turn it on and practice it. And when I see her, she gave me this last night. When I see her, I'm going to sing her the Barney song.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because it's her birthday. She's going to be 7 today. She told me,
fantastic.
and she's going to be taller. So I'm going to be 7 tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be taller.
Yes, it happens like that sometimes, right?
Yeah. Well, every day these kids, they're such beautiful kids. I told my wife, imagine the most beautiful girl you could paint, and that's this little girl. She's just gorgeous, and every day I say, you look like you grew 2 or 3 inches. You've skyrocketed in height. And it's true.
Yeah.
You miss them for a weekend or come back from spring break and they've grown it.
Yeah, those 7-year-olds, they just they have such zeal and
Yeah, I
and
told
excitement.
her that's the best age.
It
Amal's
is.
7.
Yeah.
And this little one is 7, and that's a great age. But we have K through 5th grade.
Okay.
And they're all wonderful, and we have lots of middle school kids starting to.
Excellent. And you do summer camps?
Yeah, we just found a spot for our summer camp because
Excellent.
we're in a bit of a bind as Moulton begins being taken apart and torn down and moved. And so Moulton is going away and coming back in 2 years, hopefully. But in the meantime, we are scrambling to find a place, and we're down to between 2 sites. We had 2 offers, wonderful offers from the former Franklin
Okay.
Junior High and from Samuelson. Des Moines Schools came up with the idea of using Samuelson for summer.
Okay.
And I think that's probably where we're going to be. But it's going to take some changes. For the first time, we're going to have to pay a little bit. We're going to have to pay for the custodian, and we're going to have to figure out transportation.
Right. That's a big one.
For the parents who can't be transported, we're talking with Variety Club and others
Okay.
about a vehicle to use for the summer. So it's going to cost us a little more.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And that will probably be the fact for 2 years. Do you know that you have a place in Moulton once it comes back?
No, we
Okay.
do not have a place at Moulton, but we're working on some area churches. Have to have a gym, have to have a playground,
Right.
have to have a cafeteria, and ability to make food happen. But we hope we come up with a solution. We just came up with this possible solution this week for summer, and sometime in the summer we have to have a solution for
fall.
Yeah.
Okay. So one step at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So you've spent your life working with people in crisis. How do you define dignity?
Yeah, dignity is a welcome, and just the opposite of what I described to you when, hey, here's the kids again, you know. It's wow, here's the kids again. Give them a hug and high five and let them know how important they are. And that's the same thing we try to produce at our supper club. It's, hey, come on in, welcome, glad to see you, good to see you. So
Yeah, tell us a little
of-
bit about your supper club.
Yeah, our supper club, we had 109 2 nights ago, which is pretty high for us. I think a record of 125 people. But it's not just our kids. In fact, it's some of our kids with their parents, but it's many people in the neighborhood who are just hungry, and many people from encampments around Des Moines who come in and come to our supper club because it's for everybody and anybody.
And that's
to walk
every
in.
weeknight?
Every weeknight, Monday through Friday. And it's a different meal every night. It's a great meal every night because different church groups and community groups and friends
come together to provide that.
and provide meals. AJ, our assistant executive director, he even made beans and rice the other night, like Chipotle, and it was really good. But we have various people, struggling people who are living in their cars, coming in and getting food and getting a high five, and we look out for. And
So-
it becomes like, it's a little bit like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And will that stay at the same location?
Yes.
Because that's not at Moulton, that's across the street.
Across the street at Trinity, we'll stay there for supper club.
Okay.
Stay there for breakfast club. It's likely that kids will come eat an early morning breakfast, and then get on the bus to go.
So you
to
provide
school.
breakfast there as
Breakfast club. Breakfast club is the oldest thing at CFM. It started in the late 60s from the Black Panthers, and then Methodist churches took it over, and then CFM became Children and Family Urban Movement in the mid-90s and took on the Breakfast Club. So it's our longest tradition is Breakfast Club, and Supper Club has gone on for a long time too.
Okay, so I had my facts wrong.
Just a little different, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're really thankful.
That's
for
great
it.
to know the history of that.
Yeah, the Black Panther. So sometimes when Drake University or others celebrate the Black Panthers, we get included to tell that story.
Excellent. I'm glad. It's great to know the history in Des Moines and who's played a part in that and who's carrying on the legacy.
It's just kind of tough that I've lived through most of it.
Oh, yeah, you've seen a lot. But you're doing a lot too. So what would you say Des Moines has going for it that cities like Los Angeles don't?
Still the feeling of we are not going to give up on our neighbors. We are not going to think it's okay to leave people on the streets unattended, unloved. We are not going to let our kids suffer the consequences of cyclical poverty. We're going to intervene. We're going to do everything we can to give them hope, get them into college. Some pay their way to college. We suffered a loss with the ISU for You kind of folding and becoming different. But in the past, we have really looked out for our kids and rescued our kids from disaster. And I think we're on the fringe of falling into that LA category of not caring about our neighbors. But
yeah, tell me a little bit about that and like how today's climate is playing out and what we can do to safeguard our community and our kids.
Yeah, I admitted to, at least I admitted to AI yesterday that I can't just settle for the way things are going. I've suffered, I know in my heart, I've suffered moral injury from seeing neighbors who've been here 20, 30 years, who I love, be grabbed up and deported. Even some of our kids' parents, that I love, that I work with every day, have been deported. And I've suffered a moral injury because I couldn't do anything to protect them or anything to fix it. And I know people may say, why would you think you could? But I really
it's really
thought
frustrating.
I could. I thought I
Right.
could make a difference by speaking up or protecting kids, and it's going to be hard to deal with that and continue to deal with it. I'm most worried about what's coming next if our society doesn't wake up and realize it is not a sin to have empathy. And that's unfortunately where some of our world is going, and I don't want our local world to go there.
Do you understand anything behind that? Like what's behind that? What's driving that? Because it's very confusing to me as well.
It's a twisted, tough love, and no, I don't understand the cruelty and brutality and unkindness and lack of love, and but I do know it has done a lot of harm, especially to our kids. And somehow CFM's been there to walk with our kids through it. We've come close to our kids who are grieving the loss of a parent, and they made it through. We've also worked with legal groups and like IMMJ, Iowa Immigrant Society. We've helped parents return.
Okay, great.
And work through the legal issues. But it's been toughest year on us, but even tougher year for many of our kids.
Right.
They are already like this sweet little girl who wrote the Barney song to me. They're already living in difficult times. Their parents have to work 2 and 3 jobs. They're concerned about their immigration status. They're, sometimes the results of the stress brings domestic abuse, and they're already living with all of that. But to not know where you're going to be in the future is very hard on our kids.
Yeah. Interviewing quite a few nonprofits now, the aspect of walking alongside who you serve comes up a lot. And I do think there's a reason for that, obviously, because then you do relate. It's not over there.
Yeah, these are our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're in there with them.
Yeah.
Knowing them.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder to look away or give up when you know these people, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I'll cause some good trouble if they show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. So, because of your experience about policy and its impact on supporting those in need, do you have perspective to share on policies in Iowa that could make change happen?
Yeah, what I tried to share in LA was you cannot leave tens of thousands of people on the streets without them being completely destroyed physically, mentally, educationally, vocationally. And Des Moines is getting to the point where we are just leaving too many people on the streets. And I appreciate JAPA going out,
Right.
giving people propane tanks and, helping them survive the winters. But we need to do more than make sure people survive.
Yeah. We want them to thrive.
We want them to thrive. So I would, if I had the chance to wave a magic wand or be the czar of homelessness like I almost was in LA. I mean, almost was given the opportunity to be people don't like that word, but the head of homelessness. I would, it's a small enough problem in Iowa that we could actually make sure that it's rare that an individual falls into the streets.
Right.
And
we could make a different story happen.
We could make a completely different story happen. And we could provide the mental health care that's sometimes needed for somebody who just cannot stay off the streets.
Yeah.
There are policies in New York. There used to be a policy, I don't know if it's still there, that if it was 32 degrees or below, you could not stay on the streets. And that made a huge difference in New York on street homelessness. New York had more people devastated by homelessness than LA, but their numbers comparably on the streets were tiny. So we had, I think there were like 4,300 people on the streets of LA. There were 75,000 people who were homeless, but 50,000 in LA were on the streets.
Wow.
I mean, imagine the difference between 4,300 and 50,000, and it was all policy that you could not stay on the streets if it was 32 degrees or below, and they had a policy you had to provide shelter or a hotel room or something if somebody came to you. So those two policies in Des Moines would make
a big difference.
A huge difference, right? Whatever it took. You just do not leave somebody on the streets in 32 degrees, and if somebody shows up, you find them a place.
Right.
And that's not that, it would not be that significant of a cost.
Is cost the main concern, do you think?
No, it's care and the removal of the myth that people want to be on the streets. I probably met more people who are homeless on the streets than any other person I know, and I've never met one who really chose to be there. People said, Andy, leave them on the streets. They've made that choice. I said it was made out of a choice of no choice. Like every time I get on my feet, I fall on my face, and they give up. But one time I met a guy, he built a house under the ground by the Des Moines River, and it came out in the news later. But he told me why I was there. He said, my wife sued me for everything I had, and I ran away. And everybody's got a reason for being out there. I met a guy who...
Everyone has a story.
Who wanted to live in our basement in Pasadena of our church. He owed IRS $83,000. Finally, we got him a meeting with the IRS, and they worked it out, and he was able to escape homelessness.
They just need help.
Yeah,
need an ally.
Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
But they need somebody to come alongside them and help them to give life another chance, and to do it as a brother or a sister, not in a paternal way, but
right
as a loving brother and sister. Let's go give life another try.
Yeah, that civility. So you help more than children through CFOM.
Yeah, we have people who are homeless who come in.
Through your supper clubs.
Yeah.
And breakfast club.
Yeah, and Darlene got a guy a second pair of brand new shoes because he worn through the ones she got him last year. And, we hear about people's health needs, and we connect them as best we can. And we try to solve homelessness. The other night, a guy was very upset because the landlord, he felt, I only knew one side of the story, but he felt the landlord showed up with a gang of people, mistreated him, didn't let him move his tools that his dad gave him from one place to the other. And so I said, well, you want to meet? And I'll go with my truck and get your tools. And so he showed up. He had two buddies that looked like they were from the Grateful Dead, and his two buddies, and they went and loaded up all the tools, and I just drove because I'm in a wheelchair. But we drove over, moved him in his new apartment, and I remembered that's the apartment where I almost got shot years ago. A Sudanese guy and an American black guy were fighting in the street, and I went over to break up the fight, and a truck came around the corner and was shooting out the window. And I called the police. I had one of those big old brick, back in the day, phones, and I always used to stick it in my pocket. It covered my heart, but broke up the fight, but the shooting broke out. So I called the police, and I'm hiding behind my Suburban with this big brick phone. And I said, what took you so long? He said, well, the policeman said, we knew who was getting out, and we wanted them to go ahead and get each other. I said, well, thanks a lot for your response, because they almost got me. And that was not the first. I had probably 3 times where guns were drawn in Des Moines. Never, maybe once in L.A. But I had 3 close calls, because our neighborhood is so much better now at CFOM than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Des Moines has done a spectacular job of bringing back the River Bend neighborhood.
That's great.
I highly commend them. It's much safer
I
for
appreciate
the
that
kids.
perspective.
Yeah, it's much safer for the kids. I can sit out in front of CFOM and, my wheelchair and enjoy the sun on a nice day, and that's a much better, holistic, safe environment for our kids.
Yeah, that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of factors. So what do you hope your impact is at CFOM?
I hope it's that welcome, that will persist, that we're going to cheer when the kids arrive and let them know how much they are loved. We celebrate the kids' birthdays once a month. Everybody in October, I help bring that. Mm-hmm. The kids get cupcakes and a prize bag and get celebrated on their birthday. What else? I hope we have solidified funding. We were able together to get the biggest grant in our history, and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about fundraising. Tell us about that grant.
The grant is from a group called Anonymous, and they come evaluate how you're doing and decide what to give you, and we were able to get great funding for 3 years, and that will last and hopefully be renewed. But meanwhile, we've started Top Golf is one of our big events, which is going to happen tomorrow night at Top Golf in West Des Moines, and lots of supporters are going to come out. And we had great food last time. I'm sure we'll have great food again, but keep in mind the Top Golf of, I guess it's going to be 2027, right? Next time.
Yeah, you do it once a year at Top Golf?
Yeah, once a year, and we have a breakfast event that may switch to a lunch or a dinner event at some point, but keep an eye out in the fall, early fall,
for that.
for our breakfast or lunch or supper event, and come out and hear stories of kids whose lives have changed. One of the biggest things we have now is former kids
Being able to
coming back and are now being staff,
Nice.
right? And there's nothing better than that. A child whose life was transformed, who was able to go to Iowa State because of the ISU for You and CFM funds, now coming back to work with and encourage the kids. And I think that once that has happened, we will have a sustainable nonprofit. And if all of the former kids who are now in jobs, we have a buddy who works at Des Moines Public Schools who was once a CFM kid. He said, I don't know, but all I knew was I heard the church was feeding food, and I was hungry. And I met an Uber driver who said I was one of those kids eating at that church. So if everybody who remembers being blessed and fed by CFM in their childhood would support us, we'd be highly sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good perspective and insights to offer us. I appreciate that. So what if someone's listening and wants to make a real difference in Des Moines, where do they start?
Yeah, you can start at one of many places, but certainly at CFM, you can make sure that a whole group of kids are going to have their lives changed for good.
Yeah.
Our kids read like 11% better than they did last year. They do math 13% better. They had half the referrals that they had to the office in the year before. Attendance has gone up 20%. You can invest in CFM and make sure you're investing in about 100 kids, or about 1/5 of the Moulton students. JOP is doing a great job of getting people off the streets. That could be enhanced in a big way. Hope Ministries, I visited their family unit on the east side. It was clean and neat, and they're changing the lives of families every day. So find a great organization and join them and invest in them is the best way to make a difference.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to hearing from others from CFM in the series to come, in the episodes to come.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for your longtime experience and being able to come back to Des Moines and share your insights and your presence that has such an impact on these kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can check out Children, Family, Urban Movement at cfum.org. And they also have social media. You can look for them on your favorite social media platforms to learn about the events. That sounds like the best place. And then do you do a newsletter?
Yeah, Instagram.
Okay.
And do an e-newsletter.
Okay.
I think once in a while, print newsletter, but Instagram and Facebook would be the best.
Are the best ones. Okay. And then sign up for your newsletter.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Andy, for being here.
Thank you.
To our listeners, thanks for being here as well. You can find us at giveandgrowdsm.com and on your favorite podcast platform, such as Spotify and Apple. And we look forward to seeing you next time.